Hello and welcome to another episode of Hat Collecting with me, your host Lacey Artemis, and I am joined today by my guest Flower, who is a musician, a sex worker, an activist, and an all-around brilliant person in my experience. I've known them for a few years now, and I'm always impressed with what they're up to. So I'm really looking forward to this particular episode. How are you doing today, Flower?
I'm having a good day actually. I just finished installing the a lift in my van,
Awesome.
like a wheelchair lift,
Hmm.
so that I can get around easier.
Yeah, totally. Um, I so well, I guess we'll get into this a little bit more. But actually, no, I'll do it right now. Why not? Before I forget. So how does that process work? Because I've seen vehicles with lifts in them before, but like I kind of assumed that they were pre-bought
Um,
like that.
yeah, well, like usually that happens, but
Okay.
I'm great, and I bought a Sprinter cargo van,
Hmm.
and when you buy like a cargo van with like standing room, you actually can just buy the lifts on Kijiji
Hmm.
and bolt them into the back. So like I obviously had to like get, some specialized hardware to make sure it wouldn't corrode or interfere with the truck.
Hmm.
But I bolted it in and then wired it around. Uh had to drill some holes along the side wall. But now it's the wires are all in the wall, lift is operational. That took quite a while.
Hmm. So, out of curiosity, so as our viewers might have gathered by the fact of you installing a wheelchair lift in your van, you are a disabled person.
Yes.
Um, so I guess I'm just curious as I'm thinking about it. So okay, it makes sense that you get your wheelchair into the van. Like you do have some mobility. It's very limited.
Yeah, I can drive fine. There's nothing wrong with like my muscles. It's all about like my connective tissue.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a niche case, and I had to really like forge my own way here, where
Mm-hmm.
like it's not too often that someone both like can't get into their van and can drive it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm one of the very lucky disabled people to have gotten a driver's license before I became uh, too uh, strongly impaired in terms of mobility.
Mm-hmm. At what point, like obviously you've had the like connective tissue issue for like presumably your whole life, but is there kind of a certain age at which point it like really started to like become a thing?
EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
usually starts really messing you up in like late teens, early 20s. It's usually found in um, like childhood, but it's usually not diagnosed until like late 40s.
Hmm.
Just because of like if you aren't able to like advocate for yourself very very loudly, it's incredibly difficult to get a rare disorder diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of people, receive like a diagnosis of like general joint laxity and
Mm-hmm.
various other things, but won't won't get any diagnosis or treatment until they're quite old. I was quite lucky to get a diagnosis at 23, but that required like a very good doctor and a lot of self advocacy.
Yeah, from what I again, I know these things already, but the audience doesn't. Like I know you've had to do a lot of self advocacy and like through you, like I mean, it must be frustrating, but like it's also been like I've gotten to learn vicariously through you of like a lot of things that people just never think about or never have to
Yeah,
experience.
like the fact that like if a building catches fire, all the elevators turn off. That means I also catch fire.
Mm,
Um,
that's no
so,
good.
so like it's one of those things that people don't like to think about. In New York, they've already like banned that rule
Mm,
post 9/11 because of all the lives that could have been saved by operating the elevators during the fire.
mm,
Um, and like disability rights advocates won like a lot of huge wins in the United States that we like just haven't even come close to here. Like in the United States, it's like mandatory to have like mobility scooters at every store that's like over a certain size or whatever.
Hmm.
Here, there's no such thing. Um, and and you know, another example is that like in the province of Ontario, most building elevators shut off if there's a fire. That means that if I'm at the top floor of a building that catches fire, my options are to burn alive or to throw myself down the stairs. Which isn't helpful because a lot of people say, well, like, can't you just like crawl out? Well, like, yes, but I can't get my wheelchair down the stairs. What do I do when I get to the bottom of the building? You know, like it's like I don't have the luxury of just like, no, it's a part of my body. It's like my legs. I don't have the luxury of like people are just like, why don't you just leave your legs at the top of the stairs and toss yourself down? And I'm like, that sounds silly, but I guess it makes some sense to people who don't really understand like what wheelchairs are and how they work.
Yeah, I have a like not the same experience certainly, but I've had a like my knees have been kind of wonky for about a decade, and every so often they'll just kind of act up. So I recently invested in not like the knee braces that I know that you have, but like something a little bit lower level, but it makes a difference on the days when I'm kind of just like, okay, this is rough going here.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, I'm a fan of bracing. There's like there's a lot of advice out there on like the side of like that like bracing exacerbates problems, but like it's really case specific.
mhm.
Um, and you know, you should really make that up for your own specific case. Make up your mind on that. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I will say, in my experience, for anyone who might be having some like low to moderate or intermittent mobility issues, kind of like me, I was using one of those like drugstore just like elastic material braces for a while, and it's better than nothing, but it really wasn't that great. So I actually
yeah,
went out of my way and invested. I think I spent about a
yeah.
hundred
There's like a
bucks.
mid level. There's like
Yeah.
a, you know, like where you can get like quote unquote cheap rigid braces,
Yeah. Yeah, I got
which
one
are
of
really
those,
helpful.
and it was definitely worth the investment.
Yeah,
um,
I definitely wouldn't have dropped like 5K on knee braces and like 5K on elbow braces if I weren't on ODSP.
mhm.
Um, coincidentally, I paid $0, so thank you, Canada.
Awesome. So, what other projects, if any, are you currently working on?
um, well, like I've really been trying to like with the way my disability is like I'm like getting worse, kind of fast, kind of slowly,
Hmm.
but I don't know where I'll end up in terms of mobility. So I've really been trying to focus these years and this energy that I do have on making it so that when things do get worse, it'll be easy. Like, you know, 10 years from now, I probably couldn't have like installed a wheelchair lift. But 10 years from now, I'll certainly be using one.
Yeah.
So that's where like, that's where a lot of my energy's been focused. I soft modded a PS2.
Nice.
Uh, and but currently I've been on my continuing journey to become a doctor. I've been practicing suturing.
Oh, nice.
Um, I do have like quite a bit of like medical knowledge, but like
Hmm.
not like very little of it is academic.
Hmm.
It's mostly like in person from like treating people who had come to get patched up by my mom out in the bush in northern Ontario.
Hmm. So, what have you been practicing on to practice the suturing?
This medical suture practice kit.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
there's
I didn't
there
even know such a thing would exist, but that makes
yeah
sense.
there's like this fleshy silicone pad.
Hmm.
Um, I'll just get it. You know, it's on my desk. Uh, see,
Hmm.
You can
Yeah.
kind of make out the shapes there of like, and they simulate different like lacerations and different types of wounds.
Hmm. Yeah. No, that's really cool. Like I think if I had more time and more energy, I would certainly be doing more than I'm currently doing. I'm actually fairly focused right now for my terms, but like just talking to anyone else who also has like varied interests and is kind of doing a bunch of different things, just like it's just fascinating. I love it.
Yeah, I have so many things. Um,
So yeah, so the next question might be a little bit different for you. When you were younger, what did you do? You remember what you wanted to be when you grew up?
I'm so boring. I wanted to be a doctor when I was a
Okay.
kid. So like because my mom was a nurse,
Mm-hmm.
a retired nurse. So when people would whenever anybody would like get hurt non-fatally in the neighborhood, they'd come to my mom's house. And so she like taught me how to like patch people up and everything. And I've always been interested in like mending and fixing.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I do like electronics repair, and I do like um software repair and that kind of thing. But uh I have like a very steady hand, and I think that my skills would be like well applied to medicine.
Mm-hmm.
um I have this drive to like put things back together.
I get that for sure. That's kind of I can understand that because one of my current but like longer term goals and plans is like I want to learn a lot of skills related to survivalism, not in the, like the prepper sense, but just in the like being self-sufficient and like when society collapses, like I don't want to be,
Yeah.
screwed. So I want to learn how to sew, and I want to learn like basic like first aid, and I want to
Yeah.
learn how to grow my own food and fix electronics and things like that. I want to learn all of those
Yeah.
things, and hopefully I will eventually.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have like grown up in a place that's like remote enough where that kind of knowledge is like semi-mandatory.
Hmm.
Um like at least to some degree, like any given person like knows like something about cars. Any given person knows like something about electronics.
Hmm.
Um it's like it's hard to run into somebody who like couldn't, you know, like hash it for a week without tech.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I feel old. I remember when you could only get oranges at Christmas. That's how remote the place I was in.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, wait a minute, what?
Um,
Yeah. Um, Again, yeah. So the next question is like, when did you get started? And like, I know how old you are now. The viewers don't, but like, I think you must have had a very like kind of weird winding path from there to
yes.
here.
Well, like I'm 23. And well, like to me, all of the things I do are related, but I know from the outside they all seem very different. Because my main things are, like I repair electronics, and I study up on medicine, and I do sex work. But I see them all as like forms of mending.
Hmm.
Like with sex work, I like to see it as a sort of like mending of the soul. Um, so I started out learning about with medicine from my mom and my dad, and like all my dad and my dad's dad and my dad's dad's dad and my dad's 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 dad have all been Sparkies. They've all been electricians.
Okay.
Same with my uncle and his brother, and then the and so it runs in the family. And I learned how to solder, before I was 8. Um, so and I've always liked, like fixing things, putting them back together, mending. And
Hmm.
uh, I thought that I could do computer science because I got talked out of going into medicine because I was told that I'd be too emotional.
Mm.
Um, and then, but I dropped out of comp sci um, because of health issues. But that honestly helped me. It helped me realize that um, that I can help people and help like bend people through sex work.
Mm-hmm.
So I started out as like a professional cuddler, and got on to like, like more proper like escorting and that sort of thing. Um, but I always see what I do as like, like everyone needs hugs, everyone needs a snuggle.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and it's a service that you can buy.
Mm-hmm.
um, and I like providing it. I like
Mm-hmm.
providing people with like, um, you know, real genuine interest, someone that'll like listen to them, someone that'll like take care of them, however short.
Yeah, that's really needed. Unfortunately, in our society, as I know you know, that just the way that our society is built, it's not built. It doesn't encourage connection. It doesn't encourage like vulnerability and intimacy. It kind of encourages people to like harden up and like withdraw and just tough it out, and that's not good for most people.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I have a lot of respect for my patrons. I have a lot of respect for like people that will take that leap and say like, I'm not getting what I need to out of life, or like maybe I just want to try something new.
mm-hmm.
Um and like, because like they're seeking out help when they need it. And I think that that takes like a lot of strength, because our society seems to like paint like particularly like men who seek out sex workers as like weak, like that they like couldn't get it in their own
Yeah.
life. But a lot of the time they're just too busy. Like, like I see men that have like 6 jobs and have no time. I see, women that have become like so far engrossed in their work that they just like they have no time to
Mm-hmm.
form those kinds of connections in a more organic kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like I have a lot of respect for people who make that leap.
Absolutely. And I totally agree, and uh, like I totally like even before I knew you, I supported sex workers, and like I mean I used to, unfortunately I used to have a more regressive view of that, but I came around, and it's just I think it's like kind of the puritanical kind of vibes that kind of dominate society. That's why a lot of people end up looking down at sex workers and not seeing the value that they're providing.
Yeah, yeah, and like and there's opposition from like the feminist side too.
Yeah.
There's people who claim to be feminists who are like, who will tell you that it's exploitative,
Mm-hmm.
um, which and specifically that it's like exploitative of men, which I have women clients, so that's already silly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it's I'm an independent worker. I'm a member of the IWW. So I'm a union member, and I know I pay my taxes like anyone else. I go to work like anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't think I'm any more exploited than anyone else. In fact, I'm self-employed, so I'm actually a lot less exploited than the average grocery worker.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Um, so this ties in somewhat to the next question on our set. I'm going through these a little bit quicker, but we're also having some really good discussion, and we can talk more in the bonus episode. We can dig down a little bit more. But how has mental health played into all the things that you've done, and how have you worked through that to continue doing what you do?
Oh, geez. I
I know
have
that's a Pandora's box. I know.
Yeah, so all right, I'll try to draw the list out of my brain. Um well, I suppose the one that impacts my life the most is probably PTSD. I have very severe PTSD from like, but it's not that kind of interview. Uh, um and I also have borderline personality disorder, and as a result of having both of those, I also have psychosis. So I have like fairly regular breaks with reality, which are often accompanied by like self harm, but not always. Often
Mm-hmm.
accompanied by like screaming, but not always. I have almost constant visual and auditory hallucinations, like things like look wiggly, things like it's kind of like being on acid, but all the time. And uh, I have d.i.d, dissociative identity disorder. So like my personality is like split into different parts. Um, they all have like names and personalities and likes and dislikes, and they actually use different pronouns.
Yeah. That's kind of I don't think I knew that part about you until maybe within the last year, because I don't think it had ever come up, and then you did a post about it on Facebook, and it's like, oh, I mean, that's really good for me to know. And
Yeah.
um yeah, and it's something that like I just learned that there's actually another term for, not DID is the, I guess, the medical term, but there's
Yeah.
plurals is another term
Yeah,
for it.
plural is a
Yeah.
good term. It's a good term that is doesn't have the kind of like medicalization behind it.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
within the community, we typically like refer to ourselves as systems.
Okay. Yep.
In the sense that uh, in the sense that we're like composed of parts that like work to create a whole.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I like plural.
Yeah, I mean that's another one that I only just became aware of very recently. But I mean I want to know these terms so that I can use the right terms and be respectful, and it also it helps empathize better. Not that I wouldn't already, but and I think that I just want to make a comment of my own here that um, I as I said, I knew you already, so I knew about a lot of these mental health struggles that you've had, and to still hear you be so empathetic and so like gentle and sensitive, like I think a lot of people, if they heard like, oh, I have regular psychotic breaks, they think like, oh, this person, I don't want to be anywhere near them. But it's like, no, Flower's a really amazing person, and um, so I that's part of why I wanted to actually have you on, because I wanted to kind of bring some awareness to this stuff, and show people another face that they might not have considered.
Yeah.
Because I know that we also share neurodiversity as well.
Yes.
Um, yeah,
ADHD, autism in my
yeah,
case.
yeah. I mean, I'm diagnosed with one, but not formally the other.
Same.
Yeah,
Because like it cost money to get an autism diagnosis, and an ADHD diagnosis was free. So
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I know for myself, I kind of commented before that those aspects of the way that I'm wired is part of why I am the way I am and what I do, and I think I'd be very boring without that. But of course, it certainly comes with its own challenges,
yeah,
which
certainly like um trying to live without psychosis would be like being kicked off the TARDIS. You know, like I can't, like you can't like see impossible things and go to impossible worlds and travel through time and then go back to your job at the shoe store and not want to die.
yeah.
It's like living in a movie or a play. You know, it's fun. It's scary at times, but uh, I try to have fun with it.
Hmm.
One of the best coping mechanisms that I have is like the hallucinations are going to happen whether I like them or not, but I can turn them into something positive, or I can turn them into something negative and scary.
Hmm.
Um, so I'll if if I'm feeling extra hallucinatory, I'll try to make it kittens, yeah, instead of like a Rottweiler.
So you can control that to some extent.
Well, I can't control it, but I can affect my mood,
Okay.
and my mood sort of determines the framework on which everything happens. Because like there's like a root to all hallucinations, right? Like there's typically like a seed of
Hmm.
reality that then grows out on a tangent that's separate from what's real. So you will see like like a picture of a rabbit over here, without like, but only like, but not really register that you saw the rabbit over there, and then suddenly you can hear a rabbit in the other room,
Okay.
um,
Interesting.
and and then it'll just run with that, and then you chase the rabbit, and then all this shit happens.
Hmm. Yeah, I suppose I will. I don't know if I should say this here, but I guess why not? I somewhat recently had my first ever experience with an actual psychedelic experience, and it was like it's kind of this thing of like I've seen the depictions in TV and movies and like in books, like in pictures and books and stuff, and to then actually have it yourself and be like, oh, now I get where this comes from, and it was like fortunately it was good, it was a positive experience, but I know that some people, like, you can have bad trips, and
Yeah.
eventually I'm probably going to experience
Yeah,
one of
like I said, the
those.
biggest thing is mood.
Yeah.
When it comes to like detaching from reality, there's always like a seed at the
Hmm.
point where you like detach. So if you make yourself in a good mood before you get high, then the chances of like bad things happening during the high are actually pretty low. But if
Hmm.
you're someone with like chronic anxiety or someone who like always like is thinking like having negative self-talk, then that negative self-talk might manifest in the like it might take physical form and you might see like a human that isn't there.
Hmm. So our last question here, we're doing pretty good on time, but uh, I think from what I know that you have a bit more of a varied schedule as far as time wise, because I am a very consistent morning person, but how about you? Do you have somewhat of a regular schedule or not really?
Oh geez. Honestly, yes. So like as a result of disability, I've turned into an old man. I essentially wake up at about the same time every day, and I'm in bed by 8. So I'm often either asleep by like 8 or 10 p.m. Is about as far as I can go, and that's because I usually get up between 8 and 10 a.m. and my Adderall lasts 12 hours, and then I go I crash because my body just like can't keep me awake without the stimulant because of just the amount of like pain and everything.
Yeah, I can relate to that in the sense, like with my brain, like it's constantly going no matter what, really, and so that's yeah. Whenever I do, like, I have medication, I don't take it very often because it's like not it's not absolutely necessary. It's just helpful. If I'm like if I wake up one day and I'm just like, wow, I really slept terribly. I'm not gonna get through this day without some kind of help, and I take it then. And it's the way I describe it to people is it just my brain's constantly going anyways, it's constantly using up energy, and then the medication just provides, like, not an infinite well, but like for 10 hours or 12 hours it provides extra fuel so that I don't run myself into the ground by midday.
Yeah,
Sounds a bit similar there, but yeah, I'm the same kind of way. I'm usually about 7 a.m. to about 9 or 10 p.m. myself most days.
yeah. Sometimes I'm up later, but not usually.
Yeah. um Well, we're actually doing pretty well on time here, and I'm like, should I just go a little bit longer, or should I? Probably should actually, so I don't have to do as much editing. I can just wrap this one up, and we can hop into the bonus. There's actually a bunch of stuff I want to ask you more about, and so yeah, probably better to do that in the bonus episode.
Giver.
Yeah, so we got time now for you to plug yourself. Anything that you want to plug?
If you want to listen to some awesome music with terrible singing, you can check out my my YouTube channel, Beautifully Autistic. And if you'd like to see something a little bit less depressing, then although I do have some comedy songs, but but if you'd like to see, I have a Twitch too. So that's FlowerGenius. I'm FlowerGenius on all platforms. So that's just like Twitch TV, twitch.tv/ like FlowerGenius.
Are
Um,
you still on Twitter, Instagram at all?
I am.
Okay.
There's my sex work Twitter is FlowerGenius OTJ, FlowerGenius on the job. And my personal Twitter is FlowerGenius IRL, which is FlowerGenius in real life. Because FlowerGenius was taken, it's actually some unfortunate botanist.
Mm.
Uh, I hope they aren't getting all my hate mail. Also, I'd like to do another plug. Uh, Anybody who's like interested should check out Artists for Black Lives Matter Sudbury, where you can get an art commission, and most of the money will go towards Black Lives Matter Sudbury and community-led uh, organizations that like actually help people. If you just like if you've been feeling like you're not doing enough, you can do that and get a funky piece of art out of it. But yeah, Beautifully Autistic for music, and it's FlowerGenius on everything else.
Okay. Yeah, I will. What I do is I'll add like a little overlay on the screen and post and put the links up
And
there for people.
Patreon.
Ah, yes. So Patreon/FlowerGenius.
It's actually patreon.com/beautifullyautistic.
Ah, okay. I will make note of that. Cool.
Oh, and
Yeah.
you can find some comics that I made on my Patreon for free.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, it's good to have a mixture of some free stuff and some paid stuff. I've been kind of bad for that myself. Okay, well, at this point, we can do our sign off, which I've kind of decided to just put on a hat and wave goodbye, essentially. That seems like until I come up with something better. So, yeah, I wanted to see what your hat was first because I've got two that I could wear. Okay, so that's that. Yeah,
It's actually an Avro aircraft hat.
okay. So, yeah. The problem is with these headphones, I can't really, like, put... Actually, if I hold my head a certain way, I can. So, yeah, this is... That looks really awkward, but I kind of like it, actually.
Yeah,
It almost looks a bit like a trucker
I
hat.
do like it. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like it's like I have galaxy brain.
yes, yeah, yeah. You look like a cartoon character.
Yeah, so thank you for watching this episode of hat collecting. I forgot the name of my own show for a second. And yeah, we're going to record the bonus episode now, which you'll be able to find on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/artemiscreates. And I hope that you will tune in for that, and we will continue the conversation and dig in deeper on some stuff. And I'm looking forward to that. So I hope you are too. With that
All right,
said, yes, goodbye for now, and until next time.
bye.